History of Galle Fort. Galle provides an outstanding example of an urban ensemble which illustrates the interaction of European architecture and South Asian traditions from the 16th to the 19th centuries. The most salient feature is the use of European models adapted by local manpower to the geological, climatic, historical, and cultural conditions of Sri Lanka. In the structure of the ramparts, coral is frequently used along with granite. In the ground layout, all the measures of length, width, and height conform with the regional metrology. The wide streets, planted with grass and shaded by sariyas, are lined with houses, each with its own garden and an open veranda supported by columns, another sign of the acculturation of an architecture which is European only in its basic design. The Bay of Galle lies off the southwest coast of Sri Lanka, sheltered by a rocky peninsula. Mentioned as early as 545 in the cosmography of Cosmas Indicoplests, it is one of the most ancient ports of call of the Levant. When Ibn Battuta landed there in 1344, it was the principal port of Ceylon. Portuguese navigators settled there in 1505, 2 years before settling in Colombo. It seems that they preferred Colombo at first. In 1588, they decided to withdraw to Galle and they hastily constructed a rampart and 3 bastions to defend the peninsula on the northern land side. The seaward side was considered invulnerable and was not fortified. Few vestiges subsist from a Franciscan chapel that was built in 1543. When the fortified town fell into the hands of the Dutch in 1640, they decided to replace the precarious Portuguese defenses constituted partially of palisades and earth banks. They encircled the whole of the peninsula with a bastioned stone wall so as to render it impregnable against the English, French, Danish, Spanish and Portuguese fleets vying with Holland for the supremacy of the sea. This fortified city, built by the Dutch, exists still, but with few changes. It has an area of 52 hectares inside the walls defended by 14 bastions. The majority of the curtain walls were built in 1663. The northern fortified gate, protected by a drawbridge and a ditch, bears the date 1669. Much of the city, laid out on a regular grid pattern adapted to the configuration of the terrain, north-south peripheral streets are parallel to the ramparts and not to the central traffic axis, dates from this period. During the 18th century, protected by a sea wall finished in 1729, the city reached full development. It housed 500 families, and a large number of public administrations, trade establishments, and warehouses were located there. A Protestant, Baroque-style church, the oldest in Sri Lanka, was constructed in 1775 for the European colonists and a few Christian converts from plans drawn up by Abraham Anthony. However, Galle remained essentially a stronghold. In the layout of the city, the commandant's residence, the arsenal, and the powder house were prominent features. The forge, carpentry, and rope-making workshops, the naval guardhouse, and barracks rounded out a system that closely linked prosperous trade to military security. The fort of Galle was handed over to the English only on February 23, 1796, 1 week after the surrender of Colombo. As a British protectorate, Galle remained the administrative center of the south of Ceylon. A number of unfortunate modifications were then made, ditches filled in, new blockhouses added, a gate put in between the Moon Bastion and the Sun Bastion, a lighthouse installed on the Utrecht Bastion, and a tower erected for the Jubilee of Queen Victoria in 1883. Other work was undertaken during the Second World War in order to restore the defensive function of the fortifications.